Hello everybody, welcome back to Learning Biology, and in this video we're going to start with chapter 17. 咁我哋就即將開始17課啦。Alright, so please get your book ready. And so when we talk about the chapter 17, earlier in chapter 16 喺16課度啦 we learned about two coordinators controlling our actions. 有兩個 coordinator, and two coordinators are the nervous system and the endocrine system. Alright, but then what really makes us move around? 有啲咩令到我哋真係活動到、移動到嘅呢？ So that thing is mainly caused by muscles. Alright, and muscles will be our major focus or movement 活動啦 alright, will be our major focus in chapter 17. How do we have movements? Alright, so let's get started. 咁我哋見到啦 so as you can see here, so in this chapter we're mainly talking about movements. And when we try to move, there are two structures involved. 有兩個嘅結構啦 and one of them is called skeleton. 就係我哋骨頭啦 and the other one will be muscles. 肌肉啦 and when these two like coordinates 佢兩個會合作㗎啦 okay when they work together and this system we call it the musculoskeletal system 自己讀一讀啦 musculo that means related to muscle 啦 skeletal related to skeleton 啦嘅一個 system musculoskeletal system. Alright, so in the first part we're going to talk about skeleton. Okay, so actually there are like two types of skeleton. Okay, one of them is called bone, 真正嘅骨頭啦 and the other one is called cartilage, 就係軟骨啦 Alright, so when we talk about the bones, they are not dead, 佢哋唔係死嘅 they are made by living cells and they mainly contain minerals. Minerals 就係礦物質啦 Alright, and please try to remember this name, although you may not be a chemistry student. Okay, 自己讀讀先啦，我哋叫做 calcium phosphate. Calcium phosphate. So you may also put this down. Alright, this is the chemical formula. 係一個化學公式啦 for the calcium phosphate. Okay, so although you're only a biology student, you still need to get familiar with these symbols. 你要對於呢啲嘅符號啦係要有一定認識嘅 Okay, so this one may be a bit too difficult for you, but it's okay. I'll write it down and explain a bit during lesson later. Okay, but first of all, you need to know is that calcium, we'll put down the word or the symbol Ca. You need to be aware that the C is a capital letter and the A is a lowercase letter. 係大街 C 細街 A 嘅 Alright, and then for phosphate, we use PO4. Alright, we use PO4. Okay, and as you can see, P and O are the capital letters. 佢哋都係大街嚟嘅 Okay, so that's the part I want to talk in this video. Okay, that's enough. Okay, but if you are more capable, 如果你係能力高少少嘅話啦 you may also put down 2 plus for Ca and 3 minus for PO4. Alright, so this one, when there is a plus or minus, 當有一個正負號嗰陣時啦 that means this is an ion, or you say ion, 係一個離子嚟嘅，得唔得？咁 we always talk about ions when we talk about chapter 3, about the diffusion, about the osmosis. Okay, how the substance move across 我哋嘅 cell membrane. Okay, and we learned that the ions are polar. 佢哋係有極性嘅 Okay, and since they are polar, they will not be able to pass through the cell membrane. Okay, they pass through the cell membrane not by the phospholipid bilayer. 佢哋唔係經過嗰個位啦，唔係經過個 bilayer and they pass through the cell membrane. Instead, they pass through by the proteins. For example, there will be the carrier protein or the channel protein. Please pause a bit, 停一停條片啦 and copy down these informations. Alright, they're just like revision for you. Okay, 好啦，咁我哋繼續咯。And then, as we can see, these minerals are making the bone rigid. 自己讀到呢隻字啦 rigid. That means hard, 令到佢硬啲嘅。Alright, but also remember that there will also be proteins. For example, the collagen. 都可以讀一讀呢個字啦 ，collagen 就係骨膠原啦 ，and water inside our bones. Okay, and there are two types of bones， 有兩種嘅 bone 嘅。So one of them is called the compact bones， 咁即係特別係一個密質嘅骨啦 ，compact。So we always say 叫 compact space， 就係一個好密閉嘅、好密集嘅一個空間啦。Alright， so this compact bones they form two areas， 有兩個地方嘅。You can find this in two areas。第一個啦，我哋叫 outer shell，or you can also put down outer region， 一啲外邊嘅部分啦。We will show you a photo later。Okay，and the shafts， 自己讀 shafts。shaft 係咩嚟嘅咧？ That means the central part 係中間嘅部分。Okay， the outer shell and the shaft of the bones。Okay， so we can look at this diagram first. So next page, you will see this is a diagram of a bone. So what does it mean by outer bone? Outer area 啦，就係外邊一啲嘅地方啦 ，all covering the bone， 全部都係個 outer area 嚟嘅，得唔得？ And what does it mean by the shaft? Shaft that means the central part 係中間呢個部分，得唔得 ？Central part 中間呢個部分。Okay, so these two areas they are like harder usually， 通常都係屬咗成個外圍啦，同埋一個嘅中間嘅部分。Okay, the middle part they're usually tougher, harder. Okay, and the reason is because they are made up of compact bones.Okay, so we describe 佢哋係 dense 㗎啦，佢哋嘅密度好高啦，同埋 and they are very hard. Okay, so therefore providing you a support, providing strength. 好啦，然後咯 what's more 就係我哋留意一樣嘢啦。So when we talk about the shafts 呢個嘅中間嘅部分啦 ，so they are filled with yellow bone marrow. Bone marrow 自己讀到幾個字先 ？Bone marrow means 骨髓啦。So 黃骨髓 ，alright. So as you may notice, I maybe keep on skipping one word. 我可能不斷係missing out one word， 係一隻字不斷唔講嘅。And that word is this limb bones. Limb bones 嘅意思 we'll learn this in a second. Alright. So limb means our hands, our legs. Alright. 我哋嘅手手腳腳啦。And since they're like larger bones, you can also understand it as larger bones. 但係我哋嘅 limb bones 啦嘅 shafts 嘅中間嘅部分 the middle part, then we'll be able to find the yellow bone marrow. Okay? So since it is yellow, then we may understand it. 就係啲乜嘢啊？佢哋係儲存緊 they're storing the lipids. Okay, so there is one daily example. Your mom or dad may be buying some bones, very large bones of the pig. Okay, and to make some soup for you. 可能會買一啲嘅豬骨啦，翻嚟煲湯。And some of them may, some of your relatives or your elderly, alright, your grandparents may like drinking the bone marrow a lot. 佢哋會好中意個骨髓嘅位嘅，所以 therefore we may buy 筒骨。Okay, so there is this large bone in Chinese called 筒骨啦。And inside the 筒骨, some may even put a straw into that bone to drink the bone muscles. The bone marrows. Okay, but instead that part is actually the lipid part. Okay, so of course, it is quite tasty to some people. All right, because it's fully lipid. All right. 好啦 anyways, 咁呢個就係關於 compact bones 啦。And another thing is about the spongy bones. So spongy, as you may understand, it is rather weak. 咁相對地冇咁勁嘅。Okay, so why is it weaker? Because it is porous. Porous 即係代表 there are a lot of pores， 係有好多嘅窿窿嘅。Okay, so therefore, but still, as a bone， 佢作為一個骨頭啦 ，it is also still providing strength. But 係一個 minimum 嘅 additional weight， 係以最少增加嘅重量嚟講 ，providing strength. Alright， 好啦 ，and this spongy bone can be found where？ 咁其實佢哋會喺我哋嘅側邊嗰度揾到嘅。So as you can see, at the heads. Heads means at the tips. 喺我哋兩邊嗰個頂嗰度啦，會揾得到啦，喺個端嗰度會揾得到嘅。Okay, and they're filled with red bone marrows. Okay, so why are they red bone marrows? Because they are producing blood cells. Easy to understand. Okay. Lastly, since we're saying that the bones are living, 佢哋係有生命㗎啦。So therefore, it contains blood vessels. What does the blood vessel do? Always this answer. The blood vessel will supply oxygen and nutrients and remove waste from them, including urea and carbon dioxide. Okay, 永遠都係依兩樣嘢㗎啦。And also, you can also find some nerves in the bones or around the bones. Okay? Alright, so that is the first part about the bones. And then let's move on to the next part. The cartilage. Cartilage 自己就讀啦，就係軟骨啦。So it is of course also living cells. However, as from the Chinese, you will know that it is softer and elastic. 係有彈性嘅，得唔得？ Because there is fewer minerals. The mineral is calcium and phosphate. Okay, so calcium phosphate. 好啦， so where can you find this cartilage? You can find it at the end surfaces. 咁就代表 that means 係 between bones. 你會見到 that only this layer. Only, okay, only at the end surface you'll be able to find the cartilage. So what is the function? 佢個功能係啲乜嘢咧？就係 reduce 呢個 friction 嘅，減少一個嘅摩擦力啦。Okay, and lastly 最尾啦，佢會點啊？ It is also giving shape, okay, to and support to some structures. So actually, some structures of our body is not made up of bones, okay? Instead, it is made up of cartilage completely. 係只係由一個軟骨組成嘅啫。So how do I know if that part of a body is made of cartilage or bones? It's very easy. So when you look at a skeleton, 當你見到一個骷髏骨嗰陣時 if you see that part, like for example, if you see our teeth, if you see our jaws, 我哋嗰個嘅嗰個牙齒啦 so those parts will be about the bones because you can see it, right? But if you only see something hollow, if you only see some space, 你淨望到啲空間啊，一啲吉咗嘅位嘅話咧 so that will be the made up of cartilage. Okay, for example 啦 you will see pinna. Pinna means our ear flaps. Okay, 我哋嘅耳殼啦 our nose and the trachea. So the nose, you will, this is quite easy to understand. So when you look at a skull, 當你望住一個嘅頭顱嗰陣時啦 you will see the nose is gone. Okay, you cannot see the nose because it is broken down after a person dies. 得唔得？ Because it is made of cartilage, not by bones. 好啦，最尾啦 trachea here, I would like to remind you that. So what kind of cartilage can we find in the trachea? We say the C-shaped cartilage. Okay, of course, we can also find the round cartilage, or we say circle cartilage, never mind. Okay, round cartilage in a bronchi. Okay? 好啦, last thing. However, there is some differences between the cartilage and the bones. So cartilage, as you can see, it's very thin. Okay? It doesn't you can think it this way. You will not be able to find any blood vessel or nerves around them. Okay, so blood vessels and nerves, they mainly like support the bones, of course, and they can also they are close enough together. 佢兩者好近嘅啫. So therefore, it can also provide the nutrients, oxygen, and remove carbon dioxide, urea from these cartilage. Alright? 好，冇問題嘅話咧, if there is no question, then we move on to this diagram. So just to remind you more again, so where can we find the compact bones? 喺邊度揾呢啲嘅物質骨咧 So you can find it at the outer layer， 係外邊嗰部分啦 the outer layer, and the shaft 就係中間 the middle part of the bone, and especially when we're talking about the limb bones, the bones of our hands and our legs. And then the next one, there is another type of bones called the spongy bones. So where can we find the spongy bone? At the heads, 就係頭頭尾尾嗰度啦 heads like here, and the heads here. Okay? So you will find the spongy bone over here. One last thing before we move on to cartilage. So for compact bones, we'll be able to find the yellow bone marrow. And for the spongy bones, we'll be able to find the red bone marrows. Lastly, moving on to the cartilage. 去到呢個嘅軟骨嗰度位啦 So it is at the end surface. What does it mean by end surface? 就代表最邊邊一個位置啦 Okay, so in between bones. Okay, you will find a layer of cartilage to reduce the friction. And then, nearly the end of this video, we're going to talk about this disease. So this disease, we have seen this in chapter 5 or 6. 喺第5、第6課見過啦。This one is called the osteoporosis. 自己讀一讀啦。Osteoporosis. 中文就係骨質疏鬆啦。So it mainly affects old people because they are lacking calcium. The calcium is gone. Okay, and you may know, pregnant women will suffer from this disease more seriously. 得唔得？ Alright, so their bones become thin, 薄咗啦，同埋 brittle. Okay, 容易啲碎嘅。And they may have an easier chance or higher chance of having this bone fracture. Please underline this word, bone fracture. So bone fracture means in Chinese 就係骨折啦。Okay, so there are two areas which they may have bone fracture quite easily. One of them is the forearm, 就係前臂啦 and the hip, 就係佢哋嘅 pat pat 嘅位啦。Alright, so this is a diagram where you see compare a healthy person and a person suffering from the osteoporosis. You can see that there are a lot of more pores, 有好多嘅窿窿啦 pores. Okay, and the density is lower. Density 就係呢個密度啦。So lastly, this yellow diagram, this table is quite important, so please look at it yourself. Yeah, so please look at it yourself. I will revise it with you when we get in class. Okay, so if there's no question, then this is the end of this video, and same as earlier videos, I'll give you 5 seconds for you to pause the video, and you may help me complete these 4 questions. We will start checking the answer after the 5 seconds. Alright, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let's start checking the answer. 好啦，第一樣嘢啦。So when you look at the question 1 to 3, first one, bone is non-living, so I'm keep on emphasizing this, 不斷強調緊㗎啦。They are made up of living cells. So this is wrong. It does not contain water. So again, this is also wrong because you are able to find capillaries, right? You are able to find the blood vessels. So, and in blood vessel, you'll be able to find water. Okay, but anyhow, the bone contains water anyways. Okay, so this is again a false. Lastly, bone marrow can be found in both bone and cartilage. The answer is also false because in bones, it is divided into 2 types. 你揾到2種嘅 bones 啦，一種係 compact bones 密質嘅骨，另外一種係 spongy bones 就係一個疏質骨啦。So you can only find bone marrow in the compact bones and the spongy bones. 喺 compact bones 嗰度 you'll be able to find yellow 定係 red 嘅 bone marrow 咧。The answer is compact bones you'll find yellow bone marrow. Yes, spongy bones you'll be able to find red bone marrows. Alright? And in cartilage, you will not be able to find any bone marrow. It is just very thin. 好薄嘅啫。Alright, so and then moving on to question number 4, you can see the longitudinal section. So say this word, longitudinal or longitudinal. Alright, that means 係一個橫切面啦。So this one is the longitudinal section of the limb. So when we're talking about the limb bones, you need to be careful because it is like our arm, our legs. Alright? Hold on. So from now on, always remember, when the question asks you, which one about part X part Y 或者可能問你 part A, B, C, so you may not be needed or be required to answer 究竟 part X 係乜 part Y 係啲乜 but always remember, in the end, you're going to answer that anyways. 你係咪都要識嗰隻字係啲乜㗎啦 Okay, so please develop one good habit. 咁就有一個養成一個好嘅習慣啦。When the question asks you something like this, you should be able to tell me what is part X and what is part Y. 得唔得? So part X, what are you going to answer? So part X, you should be able to answer me, is it the cartilage? The answer is no, it is not the cartilage. It is the spongy bone. 自己寫返低啦。X is the spongy bone. Y 咧就係乜嘢 Y 就係呢個嘅 compact bones. Okay, because 佢係一個 shaft 嗰度嚟嘅 shaft 啦。Okay, so and then let's look at it. 佢話 part X contain yellow bone marrow and Y does not. 講咗啦 Y 先係 yellow bone marrow, X should be the red bone marrow. So A is wrong. And then X is harder than Y, also definitely wrong 啦，因為 you can actually see there are more pores. 你會見到多啲嘅窿窿㗎啦。Part X and Y are not made up of cells. Again, wrong. They are made up of living cells. Hot X and Y contain calcium. Very good. 因為佢哋係會 store 呢啲嘅 minerals. And the mineral is called calcium phosphate. Okay, so that's the end of this video, and I'll see you in 17.2. Bye bye.